They sold her like cattle for a sin she couldn't control. Not a crime, not a betrayal. Just an empty womb the village called a curse. She thought she'd be shipped off to some nameless lord's bed. A breeder without pups. A womb that wouldn't bloom. Instead, a black carriage came at midnight, guarded by wolves with silver eyes and blood on their coats. They didn't tell her who had bought her. Only that the debt was cleared. Her parents cried harder from relief than from losing her. She arrived at a castle that scraped the sky. Humans whispered. Wolves bowed. Everyone warned her not to look at the throne. Because the Alpha King didn't tolerate weakness. Because the Alpha King hated barren females most of all. He should have rejected her on sight. Instead, he stood up from his throne, and the most feared king in the north said, "Out of all of them, I'll take her." They thought he chose a slave. He knew he'd just chosen his mate. By the time the truth came out, that she'd been sold for infertility, the kingdom would watch him burn every law he'd ever written just to keep the girl no one else wanted. And the cold Alpha King would have to decide between the heir his people demanded and the barren human his wolf knelt for. If you were her, would you trust a king who bought you like property? Or run from the only man willing to love you without promises of children? Tell me in the comments what you would do. And don't forget to subscribe for more brutal, twisted werewolf love stories like this one. This is the story of a girl the world wrote off as useless, and the Alpha King who staked his crown on her empty womb. It's a story about a bargain made over kitchen tiers and tax ledgers, a contract signed with shame instead of ink, and a carriage that came in the night to collect the family's debt. It's about an Alpha King cursed to live half his life as a monster, pressured by his council to mate, breed, and produce heirs on command, and a prophecy that said his true mate would have nothing to offer the bloodline. Her name is Elara, human-born to wolf parents, wolfless, barren, the kind of girl elders use as a cautionary tale. His name is Kael Draven, Alpha King of the Northern Dominion, ruler of 10 packs, owner of half the capital, and a monster twice a day. Once in the eyes of his enemies, and once under the witch's curse when the sun goes down. Elara thinks being sold will be the end of her life. Kael thinks taking a barren slave is proof he's untouchable by fate. But the night her scent hits his lungs, the curse he's outrun for years sinks its claws into him. And by the time rebels raise guns in the middle of his own wedding, the whole kingdom will finally see who the Alpha King truly bows to. Not his throne, not his council, not his bloodline. A girl his own parents sold for infertility, whom he chooses anyway. Let's begin. The letter arrives wrapped in oil-stained cloth, smelling of smoke and old fear. Elara wipes her flour-dusted hands on her apron, picks it up from the table, and reads the seal once, then twice. A black wolf's head pressed into red wax. The king's tax sigil. Her mother is already crying. Her father is already angry. Both of them are already looking at her. It's a mistake, Elara says softly. Her voice sounds paper-thin in the cramped kitchen. It isn't, her father answers. He's never sounded older, or more tired. He drops the ledger on the table. Columns of numbers. Failed crops, interest, medicine, pack tithe. march down the page like a list of slow deaths. "We're 3 seasons behind," he says. "The collector comes at dusk. If we don't pay..." They all know what happens if you don't pay. The last family that failed lost their land, their home, and their youngest daughter to the mines up north. "Take the goats," Ilara whispers. "The loom, the cart. I can work more hours at the mill. Her mother slams a bowl down hard enough to crack it. "You can't work more, Ilara. You already work yourself into the ground." "As what?" her father snaps. "Kneading dough that no one buys. Scrubbing floors for scraps." He shoves the ledger toward her like it's her fault the ink doesn't add up. Like it's her fault the harvest failed. But that's not what's really eating him. The real reason simmers under his next words. "If your mate hadn't rejected you," he says, "we'd have had help, a dowry, a place for you, pups to bring favor." The room seems to shrink. Her mate. It's been 3 years since Tom tore the claiming mark from his neck and spat in the dust at her feet. "Empty," he'd called her. "Womb, like a winter field." Every month since, her body has remained stubbornly, achingly, silent. Ilara squares her shoulders. "We don't know that," she says quietly. Her mother laughs a sound with no joy in it. "We know enough. If you could give pups, your mate wouldn't have sent you back. And the elders wouldn't whisper every time you walk by." The words land where they always land. A little left of her heart, deep under her ribs, where hope used to live. "Stop," Ilara says. It comes out more like a plea than an order. Her father doesn't stop. "Do you think the king cares why we can't pay?" he asks. "Do you think he'll show mercy because my eldest daughter's womb is a graveyard?" Her mother flinches. Ilara doesn't. She's heard worse. Silence settles like dust. "Just tell me what you're going to do," Ilara says. Because there is a plan. She can feel it hanging in the air. Her father won't meet her eyes. Her mother stares at the doorway, like she can see the future coming through it. "Ilara," her mother says finally, voice shaking. "Do you remember what the elders say about barren daughters?" "Yes," Ilara answers. Her throat burns. "They say the goddess marks them for service." "Service to who?" her father demands. Everyone knows the answer. The Pax, the nobles, the king. "Beta Rowan is the collector now," her father says. "His letter says the king requires bodies for his upper fortress, slaves, servants, whatever he likes." He pushes the oil-stained cloth toward her. "We can't pay in coin," he says hoarsely, "so we pay in flesh." Something inside Ilara goes very, very still. "You're selling me," she says. It isn't a question. Her mother crumples, shoulders shaking. "We all tried everything else. We thought..." "What did you think?" Ilara asks. Her voice is calm in a way that frightens even her. "That the king would want a barren, wolfless girl?" Her father's jaw clenches. "Wolfless, yes. Barren." He exhales. "He won't use you for breeding then." And that is the twisted mercy they cling to. She won't be sent as some alpha's broodmare. She'll be something worse. Something easier to forget. "Better one daughter gone than the whole family broken," he whispers. The words are a blade. They go in clean. They twist. Ilara looks at the ledger, at the door. at the worn boards beneath her feet. She thinks of the village children she tutors at night for free, tracing letters in spilled flour on the table. She thinks of her little brother, Jace. Asthma, tight lungs needing medicine that only the pack apothecary sells. She thinks of her mother's hands, swollen from weaving. Her father's back bent from years in the fields. Hope has always hurt her. But sacrifice, she understands that. If you send me, she says softly, do you swear you'll never miss a payment again? That Jace will get his medicine? Her father nods too fast. Yes, yes, the debt will be wiped clean. He'll be safe. I won't. She cuts in. She doesn't finish the sentence. Her mother clutches her. Elara, baby. Elara hugs her back, memorizing the feel of hers. The kitchen smells of onions, wood smoke, and goodbye. When the black carriage arrives at dusk, the whole village watches from their doorways. The beta dismounts, a huge wolf of a man with grey at his temples and scars down his jaw. Debt? He asks. Her father pushes Elara forward. His hand trembles. He doesn't pull her back. Elara Grey, he says. Firstborn of this house, she goes in place of coin. Rowan's honey gold eyes assess her in one long thumb. Impersonal sweep. Human. Too thin. Calloused hands. Wolfless? He asks. Yes, her father answers. And barren, the word echoes. Barren. Elara doesn't flinch. She's done flinching. Rowan's gaze lingers a second longer than it should. Something calculating sharpen it. Perfect, he says. The king won't risk a breeding bond in the fortress. He extends a gloved hand. Elara steps forward before anyone can change their mind. Do I get a say? She asks lightly, because if she doesn't joke, she might scream. Rowan's mouth tugs up in something not quite a smile. You just had it, girl. The carriage door closes behind her with the heavy finality of a vault. She doesn't look back when the wheels start to roll. She doesn't look back at her parents, or the home she saved by selling herself. Elara looks ahead. At nothing. At everything. If the goddess really marked me for service, she whispers into the dark. She has a cruel sense of humor. Far above the road, in a fortress of stone and glass, the Alpha King stares down at the map table, jaw clenched, curse burning under his skin. Rowan's message lies open in his hand. One wolfless barren girl secured. Kael Draven's wolf lifts its head. For the first time in years, the curse stirs for reasons that have nothing to do with pain. The fortress is nothing like the stories. Elara expects a grim pile of stone. What she gets is a fortress carved into the mountain itself. Balconies jutting out like watchful eyes, walls laced with runes that shimmer when the carriage passes under them. Inside, everything smells of steel, wolf, and scrubbed stone. They take her name, her clothes, her hair, cut blunt to her shoulders, for hygiene. They do not take her voice. Arms out, barks a woman with iron grey hair and a spine like a spear. She uses a brush like a weapon, scraping soap over every inch of Elara's skin. You belong to the king now. No sickness, no stain. I'm barren, not contagious, Elara mutters. The woman's hand cracks across her cheek. Don't use that word here. Ilara's head snaps to the side. Her eyes sting. She refuses to let tears fall. "What word am I allowed?" she asks. Her voice is hoarse and steady. "Defective? Useless? Waste of space?" The woman's mouth tightens. For a moment, something like pity flickers there. "A life," she says finally. "Use that one while you still can." They dress Ilara in a plain grey shift. No jewelry, no shoes. Nothing that can be used as a weapon or a symbol. "You'll work in the lower kitchens," the woman says. "Name's Mara. You call me ma'am. You speak when spoken to. You never, under any circumstances, look the king in the eye." "Bit hard if I never see him," Ilara says. Mara snorts. "The king doesn't come down here. He has people for people." Then Mara's gaze flicks to the door. "But the one you need to worry about isn't the king." Before Ilara can ask, a horn sounds from high above. A deep, mournful note that makes the stone under her feet hum. Mara goes pale. "Sunset," she whispers. "Get her below." They herd Ilara down, down, down. Past warm kitchens, down past storage rooms, into a corridor that shouldn't exist. The air chills. The torches dim. Flames guttering like they want to run. At the end of the corridor waits a door of black iron. Runes carved deep, glowing faint blue. Mara's hand trembles on Ilara's shoulder. "New order from the king himself," she says quietly. One of the new slaves is to attend the guest each night. "The guest," Ilara repeats. Her skin prickles. What kind of guest lives behind a door like that? Mara's jaw works. "You'll go in, you'll serve food, you'll keep your head down, you won't scream." "Why would I scream?" The answer comes from the other side of the door. A low, ragged sound like a growl forced through broken glass. Ilara's bones vibrate with it. "Oh," she says, faintly. "That's why." The guard at the door unlocks 3 heavy bolts, then another hidden latch Ilara can't see. "Name?" he asks. "Ilara," she says. It strikes her that this may be the last time she says it as anything but a number. "Remember it," the guard mutters. Beasts shouldn't know their food's name. Before she can ask what that means, the door groans open. Dark. Not just absence of light dark. Dark like a thing with teeth. "Go on," Mara says. Her voice is too brisk to be brave. "We don't keep the king waiting, or his monsters." Ilara steps in. The door slams behind her. For a few seconds, she can't see anything. Just the shape of the torchlight behind her eyes. Then her vision adjusts. The chamber is vast. Cavernous ceiling lost in shadow, stone walls veined with faintly glowing lines of magic. At the far end, a table, laid for one. Golden goblets, food that steams in the cold air. "Is anybody here?" she calls. Her voice comes out thinner than she intends. Silence. Then, "Closer." The voice isn't human, too deep, too rough, like language warped by a throat made for howling, not words. Every instinct Ilara has screams, "No." She goes anyway. She moves forward until she's close enough to see what sits beyond the table. Not a what, a who. He sprawls half in shadow, half in the weak light of a single brazier. More wolf than man, more monster than wolf. Twisted horns curve back from his skull, fur pitch black and streaked with silver like old scars. But it's his eyes that pin her in place. Not yellow, not red, a strange stormy silver, ringed in molten gold. The same eyes painted on the banners in the fortress yard. The same eyes stamped on the tax seal. Ilara's blood runs cold. "You're the king," she whispers. The creature's lips curl back from a double row of teeth. It should be a snarl. It feels more like a flinch. "I am the curse," he says. The words scrape raw. "The king is elsewhere." Ilara swallows and then, "So I don't bow to you?" One of his brows, if those ridges can be called brows, lifts. "Will you bow if I ask?" "No," she says honestly, "but I might spill the soup on you if I try." A sound rumbles out of him. Not quite a laugh, not quite not. "You have teeth," he observes. "Good." The others only had screams. Others. Ilara notes that, folds it away. "I was told to feed you," she says. "They didn't say anything about conversation." "They didn't know you'd have one," he replies. She keeps her movements careful, measured. She pours wine. She sets bread closer to him. Her hands shake just enough to make the goblet ring against the table. "You smell like fear," he says quietly. "You smell like wet dog." She shoots back before she can stop herself. "Seems fair." Silence. Then that rumble again. Lighter this time. "What's your name?" he asks. "Ilara." "Why are you here, Ilara?" "My parents were behind on taxes," she says. "My empty womb was apparently worth more than our goats." She expects mockery, pity, curiosity. She doesn't expect the way his eyes flash, with anger that is not directed at her. "They sold you for infertility," he says. Not a question. A verdict. "Yes," she says. Saves everyone the disappointment later. "How long have you failed to conceive?" 2 years with a mate who tried hard enough to bruise. A year after that without anyone at all. His claws gouged the armrest. "Did anyone tell you that sometimes it's the male who can't sire?" "It's easier to blame the woman," Ilara says. The words come out flat. "Easier to sell her too." Something like a growl rolls through his chest. "If I asked you to be my queen," he says suddenly, "what would you say?" Ilara freezes, then barks out a laugh, sharp and incredulous. "I'd say you need your head examined," she says. "No offense, your curse." He tilts his massive head. No offense taken. Why? She gestures at herself, thin, plain, human. "I'm barren," she says. "I'm wolfless. I own 1 pair of shoes, and they didn't even let me keep them. Your council would riot. Your nobles would vomit. Your bloodline would end. Your honesty is inconvenient," he says. "It's all I have," she replies. "They took the rest at the door." His eyes gleam in the dark. "Then I will take that too." Her pulse stutters. "Let me rephrase that," he says. "If I can answer a question, will you give me your honesty freely?" Ilara considers. She's walking a cliff edge, but she's already fallen once. "Depends on the question," she says. "Depends on the answer," he counters. She sets the empty wine jug down. I'll trade you something else instead, she says. He goes still. You are in no position to bargain. I am, she says slowly. If you're bored, his gaze sharpens. Explain. I tell stories, Ilara says. Bad ones, good ones, long ones. They made fun of me for it back home. Called it a human habit. But if you're stuck down here every night with nothing but food and growling. She lets the sentence trail off, a lure in the water. Are you trying to tame me, little wolfless? Trying to survive, she says. And killing me would be less interesting than hearing how my story ends. He thinks about it. She can almost feel the gears of his mind grinding behind those monster eyes. Fine, he says at last. Tell me a story. If I like it, you live. For tonight. Ilara exhales, comforting. She pulls out the only thread she has. The fairy tales she once whispered to the village children. She twists them, sharpens them, makes them darker to fit this place. She talks of cursed printers and witches and bargains. She talks of girls who stand in front of monsters and refuse to bow. Enough, he says eventually. His voice is rougher, different. Was it bad? She asks. It was familiar, he replies. Come back tomorrow. Bring another. And if I don't? Then I'll have them send someone else, he says. Theirs will scream. He lets that hang there. A threat. A choice. Ilara walks back to the door on shaking legs. Wait, he says. She looks back. A massive claw taps the table. I asked you a question earlier, he says, and you deflected. I'm barren. I'm wolfless. That isn't what I asked. What did you ask? She says, even though she remembers. Why are you here? She swallows, tells the truth. Because my parents love their son's lungs more than their daughter's heart, she says quietly. And because I let them. The Cursed King's eyes close briefly. When they open, something has shifted in them. Come back tomorrow, Ilara, he says. And don't call me it in your head again. Her breath catches. How did you... I smell your thoughts. He bares his teeth. Be more flattering next time. The door opens behind her with a screech. As she steps through, she hears him murmur, almost too low to catch. Wolfless. Barren. Human. And yet my curse moved when she walked in. High above, in the daylit hours, Kael Draven sits on his throne in human skin. Face carved from frost. Eyes, the same stormy silver ringed with gold. Your Majesty, Rowan says quietly. About the new slaves. Keep the others in the lower levels, Kael says. His voice is calm, careful. How many know about the girl? Only Mara, the guards, myself. Good, Kael murmurs. The council must never know the king has taken a barren human into the heart of his curse. Because the witch's prophecy still rings in his bones. Your true mate will bring nothing to your bloodline, and everything to your undoing. The nights fall into a pattern. Ilara is given a pallet in a side room of the cursed chamber, far from the others. The servants think it's a punishment. She knows it's a secret. Every sunset, the fortress horn sounds. The runes in the walls hum. The door unlocks. Again, the monster says. So she tells him stories. At first, she leans on old tales. Girls with glass slippers that don't fit. Boys who climb beanstalks into other worlds. He scoffs at those. People don't forgive that easily, he growls. Kings don't change because a girl smiles at them. So make them bleed more, Ilara counters. Make them fight for the change. He does. He starts interrupting her endings. What if the prince dies here? What if the girl runs instead of staying? You're very morbid for a king, she says. I am a beast, he reminds her. But when she finishes one story with a girl choosing herself over a prince, he goes very quiet. And what if the prince deserved it? He asks softly. She looks at him. Really looks. At the way his massive shoulders curve inward when he thinks she isn't watching. At the scars she can see under his fur, some made by blades, some by something else entirely. What did you do? She asks. He huffs out a breath. I valued my crown more than a woman's heart, he says. I let the witch's daughter walk away while I stayed on my father's throne. She cursed me for it. Seems dramatic, Ilara says. He huffs again. That's witches for you. Bit by bit, she gets fragments. A spoiled prince. An arranged match. An ultimatum given under a bleeding moon. Choose love over power, or be split in two. Now I am king by day, he says, and this by night. Ilara tilts her head. So, the man on the banners, that's you too. Yes. And you didn't think to mention that the first night. I was busy not eating you, he says, dryly. The more they talk, the more the edges blur. She stops thinking of him as it. Starts thinking of him as him. He never calls her barren. Never flinches when she mentions it. Perhaps the goddess spared you from men who only wanted your body, he says once. Perhaps she was saving you for someone who wanted your mind. That someone being you, she teases. He lowers his head, eyes glinting. Would you rather I didn't? Her heart stutters. She changes the subject. One night, there's no story left in her. She sits on the floor, back against cold stone, knees pulled to her chest. You're quiet, he says. Long day, she answers. Lots of scrubbing, lots of whispers. Whispers? About the king's wedding, she says. He goes still. You hear of that down here? Yes, she says. One of the cooks says the council finally convinced you. Power needs heirs. Heirs need a fertile queens. The silence after is heavy. And what do you think of that? He asks. She shrugs. Sounds sensible. You think I should marry a fertile she-wolf? You think you shouldn't? He shifts, claws scraping stone. My wolf doesn't move for any of them. Maybe it's broken, she says lightly, like me. His voice is a low thunder. You are not broken, Ilara. She looks up. His eyes burn. A barren queen is no queen, she says. It's fine. I wasn't made for crowns. You weren't made to be sold either, he snarls. For a moment, the curse looks like it hurts him. Like the thought of her on that ledger tore something in him. Another night, she comes with ink stains on her fingers. What's that? He asks. Mara sneaked me scraps. she says. I wrote something of my own. Putain, he orders. So she does. Not someone else's tale. Hers. A girl without a wolf in a village of shifters. A mate who walked away. Barbarians who sold her like old furniture. This is not a story, he says when she pauses. This is confession. Maybe I needed someone to hear it. She says, someone. Not you. But in the dark, under the weight of his gaze, the distinction blurs. He listens, truly listens. That mate was a fool, he says, voice rough. To throw away a mind like this because her womb didn't cooperate. She laughs wetly. You would be surprised how little mind matters in our world. I am our world, he says, and I am surprised. Another night, he asks again. If I asked you to be my queen, he says, what would you say now? She breathes in, out. Something different, she admits, but I'm still a realist. Explain. I can't give you heirs, she says. Your council will never accept a human. The Pax will say you wasted your line on a barren outsider. They'll call for your head. And mine. And if I said I'd risk it, then I'd say you're not just cursed, you're stupid, she whispers. And then, brave. And kinder than you pretend. His claws dig grooves in the stone. Answer my question, Ilara. She licks her lips. Her heart thrums. Instead of yes or no, she does the only thing that gives her time. She gives him a riddle. I am held by those who cannot touch me, she says softly, broken by those who never speak me, and kept by those who never sought me. Kings command me, but I command fate. What am I? His eyes narrow. Is this another stray? It's a bargain, she says. If you solve it, I'll answer you truly. And if I don't? Then you'll have to keep me alive until you do, she says, stories and all. Silence, then very low. You are reckless, little human. Reckless is all I have left, she says. He doesn't answer the riddle, doesn't press the question, but every night after, he asks for it again. Say it, he growls. So she repeats it, over and over, held by those who cannot touch me. In the daylight, the king pretends not to know her. She sees him once in the upper hall, surrounded by advisors and nobles. Same eyes, different body. He glides past in royal blue and black, crown like it was carved onto his skull. Ilara drops to her knees with the other servants, head bowed. His steps slow as he passes her. For a heartbeat, his scent, smoke, pine, storm, wraps around her. Rise, he says, casually. Not to her, to all of them. His gaze flickers, just once, to the ink stain still smudged on her wrist. Then he's gone. By the time she realizes her heart is racing, he is already at the end of the hall, discussing border disputes and war. At night, the beast complains. You didn't look at me, he says. In the hall? Yes. You were a king, she says. I was a slave. That's how this works. He growls. Maybe I wanted not to. One dawn, the line between day and night shatters. Ilara wakes before the horn. A dream of claws and arrows clawing at her throat. The door to the cursed chamber has been left slightly ajar. No guard, no Mara. Hello, she calls softly. No answer. She slips inside. The beast is sprawled on the floor, breath ragged, eyes squeezed shut. His body shifts, cowardly bones pressing against fur, joints cracking. Stop, she whispers. She doesn't know who she's talking to. Him, the curse, the witch. Light slices across the floor or as the sun pries its way over the mountain. The beast's shape twists, fur receding, horns shrinking, limbs lengthening into two perfect human lines. In less than a minute, the monster is gone. Kyle Draven lies there instead, naked from the waist up, sweat damp and breathing hard. His face is the one on coins and banners, high cheekbones, cruel mouth, eyes like storm metal, eyes that snap open and lock onto hers. Elara, he says. Her name sounds different in this mouth, more dangerous. You, she whispers, you're the king. He finishes grimly. Yes. She backs up until her shoulders hit cold stone. You lied, she says. She's not sure whether it's accusation or diagnosis. I withheld, he says. And I had 12 reasons to. The first being that if the witch ever learned you'd seen both my faces, she'd make the curse permanent. You're cursed because you chose the throne over someone who loved you, Elara says. Pieces fall into place. And now you get to live with the monster you were at night, and the one you pretend to be by day. His mouth twists. You make it sound poetic. It sounds lonely, she says. He flinches. You were never supposed to see this, he says quietly. I had them send you away early this morning for a reason. But they didn't, she says. And now I know your secret, both of them. Both? That you're king, she says. And that you... He looks away. The witch's conditions were clear. The curse will break only when I find a love stronger than that born for power. Everyone thinks that means someone who loves the beast more than the king. Elara says slowly. He looks back at her. Doesn't it? Maybe, she says. Or maybe it means you have to love someone more than you love your crown. He stares. Elara, he says. There is a war brewing. A council sharpening knives. Pacts that only follow me because they fear my beast. If I choose a barren human as queen, everything will burn shadowed. You think I don't know that? She whispers. I walked into the fire the day I let my parents sell me. His jaw clenches. You are not their sacrifice anymore. What am I then? His answer is raw. Mine. Her heart trips. She takes a breath thick with the scent of him. Answer the riddle, she says. Her voice shakes. Then I'll tell you if I'll be your queen. He exhales. A laugh with no humor in it. I figured it out weeks ago, he says. Then why haven't you said it? He meets her gaze. For the same reason I haven't taken you upstairs and put a crown on your head, he says. I was afraid that if I spoke the word out loud, you'd be bound to a life that would break you. What's the answer, Kate? She whispers. His eyes are molten. A promise, he says. You're a promise. The chamber seems to breathe with the word. She swallows. Then hear mine, she says. She is about to say yes, that she'll be his queen even without pups, even with a curse, even if the world burns. The horn blares above them, not the sunset call. An alarm. Rowan's voice booms down the corridor. Your Majesty, the council is here. They've moved the wedding to tonight. The Eastern Alpha has arrived. The city is already gathering. Wedding? The word is a stone in her gut. Kale closes his eyes. She's here, he says. The fertile she-wolf princess, Elara says quietly. Your convenient answer to everyone's problems. Not mine, he says. Never mine. He rises, all elegant fury, curse still flickering under his skin. I will call this off, he says. I will tell them I choose you. And then what? She demands. Your council calls you mad. The Eastern Pacts walk. Rebels attack. Your enemies use me, a barren human, as proof you've lost your mind. She shakes her head, heart cracking. I will not be your ruin, Kael Draven, she whispers. I won't be the reason your kingdom dies. Better my kingdom than you, he snaps. It should sound arrogant. It sounds like the worst kind of truth. I need time, she says. Her hands tremble. Let me think. Let me breathe. He studies her face like trying to memorize it. Midnight, he says. The wedding begins at sundown. By midnight, the sun will be gone and the curse will pull me under. If you still refuse me, then... He can't finish. If I still refuse, she says for him, you'll marry her. His throat works. Yes. And if I don't, then I will drag you onto that balcony in front of the whole kingdom, he growls, and choose you over every law I ever wrote. Terrible plan, she murmurs. Her eyes shine. Beautiful. Terrible. He reaches for her, stops inches from her cheek. I have to go, he says hoarsely. If they find you here like this. I know, she says. I know. He wrenches himself away. In the doorway, he looks back once. If I am the king, he says, let me do at least one thing for my kingdom right. Then he's gone. By nightfall, the city prepares for a royal wedding. By midnight, it will be a battleground. Act 4. The wedding and the wolf, the fortress transforms. Silk banners unfurl from every tower, blue and silver snapping in the cold wind. Torches burn in iron sconces along the outer walls. A river of flame guiding nobles and pack leaders to the grand balcony that overhangs the city square. Elara watches from the shadows of an upper window, borrowed servant dress hanging loose on her frame. Mara found her there as the sun dipped low. You're not on the kitchen rota, Mara snapped. You're not on any rota. Where in the goddess's name? She stopped when she saw Elara's face. You know, Mara said softly. I know, Elara answered, that he's both of them, that I... She breaks off. Mara studies her. The king said if any council member even looked at you, I was to get you out, she says. He didn't say what to do if you were determined to walk into the fire yourself. I just need to see, Elara whispers. Once, then I'll leave. Mara snorts. No one just sees men like Kael Draven. But fine, dress. She presses a folded gown into Elara's arms, Where did you even... Don't ask questions you don't want cursed answers to, Mara mutters. That one will pass as low noble if no one looks too hard. Stay to the shadows. If you see men with red cords on their sleeves, run. That's the council's private guard. Ilara changes. The gown is simple but well cut, deep forest green that makes her skin look warmer than she feels. She pins her hair up. Her hands shake. I look like I belong, she says. You don't, Mara says. That's what makes you dangerous. The balcony overlooks the city square, packed shoulder to shoulder with people. Humans, wolves, everything between us. Ilara slips along the inner wall, keeping behind pillars, eyes fixed on the dais where the ceremony will take place. The bride arrives first, Lady Vessa of the Eastern Peaks, all sharp beauty and colder eyes. Moon-pale hair, braided with silver rings, dress cut to show off the fertility marks tattooed on her wrists. A promise inked into skin. I can give pups. The crowd murmurs approval. She's perfect. Someone sighs near Ilara. Perfect. Ilara echoes, and feels something inside her curl up small. Trumpets blare. The inner doors swing wide. Kael walks out alone. No crown, no cloak. Just dark formal leathers and a tunic so black it eats the light. He looks every inch the Alpha King. Chilled, controlled, terrifying. But Ilara sees the tension in his jaw, the slight flare of his nostrils, the way his gaze flicks for just a second over the faces in the crowd, and finds her. Across thousands of bodies and blazing torches, their eyes lock. Time buckles. He stops walking. Rowan behind him murmurs, "Your Majesty," under his breath like a warning. Kael moves again, but the damage is done. He knows she's there. She knows he saw her. The officiant begins the old words. Before moon and pack, before wolf and man. Ilara barely hears him. Her ears ring with her own heartbeat. You're selfish if you stay. You're a coward if you leave. She thinks of all the ways this ends. In most of them, she walks away now, slips back into the fortress, finds a back road, disappears into a life of small safety and quiet ache. In one of them, she steps forward. She destroys his alliances, maybe gets him killed, definitely makes his life harder. In that one, he is not alone. Maybe the witch didn't curse his body. Maybe she just exposed his heart. Do you, Kael Draven, take Vessa? An arrow hisses from the crowd. The world snaps. Kael moves before thought. He shoves Vessa aside, not as gently as a bride might like. And the arrow buries itself where her shoulder just was. Protect the king, someone screams. The crowd explodes. Wolves shift mid-air, fur tearing through clothes, fangs flashing in firelight. Rebels in mismatched armor surge from the lower streets, red cloth tied around their arms. So those were the ones Mara warned about. Another arrow arcs toward the dais, this one aimed straight for Kael's heart. Ilara doesn't think. She moves. 1 second she's at the edge of the balcony. The next, she's vaulting the rail, body slamming into Kael's as the arrow whistles through the space his chest was. They hit the marble hard. His breath woofs out. Her shoulder explodes in pain. Idiot, he snarls. His hand finds her, checks her hastily for wounds. I should have left, she gasps. You should never have been sold, he snaps. Another volley of arrows rains down. The sun bleeds toward the horizon. Red light smears across Kael's face. Rowan grabs his arm. Majesty, inside. Now, you have minutes. Elara knows what that means. When the sun drops, the curse rises. If the kingdom sees their king twist into a beast in front of them, he'll lose more than a wedding. Go, she says urgently. Kael, you have to... A rebel wolf, massive and frothing, crashes onto the dais, eyes fixed on Elara. Take the girl, a voice snarls. Kill the king's whore, and the East will walk away on principle alone. The wolf lunges. Kael roars. Not human. Not yet beast. Something between. He steps between her and the attack, taking the full hit, slamming back against the stone balustrade. The sun kisses the mountain's edge. Pain rips across his features. Go, Kael, Rowan begs. We can hold them. No, Kael growls. If I run now, they'll kill her. Your people. My mate, he snarls. The word slams into Elara harder than the fall did. Mate, chaos swirls. Wolves tearing at each other, guards shouting, arrows hissing rain. In that maelstrom, Kael makes his choice. He drags Elara behind him, puts his back to the crowd, and faces the assassins head on. Look at me, he tells her. She does. I promised myself I would never let my heart rule my crown again, he says. I lied. The last sliver of sun slips away. The curse hits like a storm. Bones crack, skin splits. Claws rip through fingers. The people below scream as their king's body contorts, clothes tearing, spine bowing under invisible weight. In seconds, the beast stands where the king was. Not hidden in a dungeon. Not locked behind a ruined door. Here. In the open. On the throne's own balcony. Rebels freeze. So do loyalists. The word monster hangs in the air like smoke. The beast Kael doesn't flinch. He throws himself at the nearest attacker with such fury that the marble cracks under their weight. He is not graceful. He is not princely. He is terrifying. And every time an arrow aims for Elara, he puts his body in its path. One finds flesh, burying in his shoulder. He snarls, snaps the shaft, keeps fighting. Rowan rallies the guards. Rally to the king, he bellows. You see that beast? That's still him. You have always feared this. Now you flee, or you follow. Some flee, many follow. The rebels didn't plan for a monster on the balcony. Their line breaks. One archer remains, tucked under an eave, arrow drawn, eyes fixed not on Kael, on Elara. Her mouth opens, no sound comes out. The arrow launches, time slows, the beast turns, sees, moves. He takes the arrow full in the chest. The force spins him. He stumbles, huge body suddenly, terrifyingly, off balance at the very edge of the balcony. Kael! Elara reaches him before he tips, throws her weight against his, drags him inward. They crash to the blood-slick stone. His breath is wet, shallow. Rebel wolves flee through side streets. The guards are too busy saving their king to chase. Elara, he rasps. Blood flecks his fangs. She presses her hands to the wound, uselessly. Too big. Too deep. You stupid, stupid man. She sobs. You could have run. You could have hidden. I told you, he says. Each word costs him. I choose you. Crown be damned. Tears blur her vision. You broke it. She whispers. The arrow? He jokes weakly. The curse, she says, or you're breaking it. Right now. Below them the crowd watches, some with horror, some with awe. The beast's body trembles. Light, soft, silver, like moonlight condensed, bleeds from under Elara's hands. It spreads through his blood, down his limbs, into the stone. Someone in the crowd drops to their knees. Others follow. Rowan stares. Goddess, he breathes. The mark branded over Kael's heart. The witch's rune. Burns bright, then cracks. Elara, he says again. His monster's face blurs. Shifts. Not violently like it does at dawn. Gently. Fur melts. Bone slides. Claws retract. In her arms the beast shrinks, until Kael's human body is cradled against her, head in her lap, arrow wound gone. The moon is high. The curse should own him. Instead, he lies there in human skin, eyes clearer than she has ever seen them. How? He whispers. You did it, she says. You loved something more than your crown. You, he says. Me, she confirms. His hand lifts, finds her cheek. Then answer me. His voice is rough but steady. Here, now, in front of all of them. The whole city is watching, the council, the packs, her parents maybe, far down in the crowd if they manage the journey. Answer what? She says, even though she knows. Will you be my queen? He asks, even if we never have pups. The world holds its breath. Elara thinks of the ledger, the carriage, the dungeon. She thinks of stories told in the dark, of claws that never once touched her without permission. She thinks of a man who let his curse be seen rather than let her die. Yes, she says. Her voice doesn't shake this time. Yes, Kael. Even if it means you never have an heir. Even if every elder in the kingdom calls me a waste. Even if it ruins everything you built. He smiles. For the first time, it reaches all the way to his eyes. Then let it ruin, he says. I'll build something new with you. He pushes himself up, turns to the crowd. Elara's hand still in his. People of the north, he calls, voice booming off stone. You've seen the truth of your king tonight. You've seen the beast and the man. You've seen who I chose to save. He lifts their joined hands. This is Elara Grey, he says. Human, wolfless, barren, or so you all like to whisper. A murmur ripples through the crowd. Tonight, Kael goes on. I bled for her instead of hiding from you. I chose her over a fertile alliance. If that makes me unfit to rule, take my crown. But know this. I'll never sit a throne built on her corpse. Silence. Then Rowan drops to one knee. Long live the king, he says. Long live the queen. Others follow, slowly at first, then like a tide. Not everyone bows, not yet. But enough do that the future shifts. Lady Vessa tears her fertility-marked veil off and throws it at a councillor's face. I agreed to marry a king, she snaps. Not a coward tied to tradition. Consider our alliance. Renegotiated. Elara almost laughs. Almost. Kael squeezes her hand. Whatever comes next, he whispers, we face it together. For better or for worse, she says. For beast and for man, he adds. Somewhere, deep in the bones of the mountain, a witch's laughter dies. The battle ends. The bodies are counted. The traitors are named. Some counselors resign with brittle dignity. A few are dragged away in chains. Rumors run wild. The king was cursed. The king is free. The king married a barren human. They're all true. The coronation wedding is small by royal standards, huge by Ilara's. No silks from foreign lands. No bride chosen for her fertility marks. Just a courtyard hung with wildflowers and a ring of wolves and humans standing side by side. Mara weeps openly. Rowan pretends he's allergic to blossoms. Ilara's parents stand in the back. Her mother clutches her shawl, eyes red. Her father looks like a man waiting for judgment. After the vows. Simple. Clear. Kael's hands shaking only once, when he says mate out loud. Ilara seeks them out. Her father falls to his knees the second he sees her. He chokes. I sold you. I sold you like stock, and you came back with a crown. I don't deserve to. Stand up. Ilara says. Her voice is soft. He doesn't. She sighs, hauls him up herself. I was angry, she says. I still am some days. But Jace is alive because of what you did. You made a horrible choice with a desperate heart. Her mother touches her face. You forgive us? Ilara thinks of the stories she told Kael, of the way she always wrote her heroines choosing mercy when it cost them. I release you, she says. It's not the same as forgiving, but it's a start. They nod, tears glittering. Later, in the quiet of their chambers, Kael wraps his arms around her from behind, chin on her shoulder. You were kind, he murmurs. I was tired, she says. Kindness is lighter to carry than resentment. He chuckles into her hair. Spoken like a queen, he says. She leans back into him, watching the moonlight paint silver across the room. Do you ever regret it? She asks suddenly. Regret what? Choosing me over the alliance, over heirs. His answer is instant. No. Not even a little. Only that I didn't do it sooner, Chita, he says, before they ever got the idea to sell you. Before you had to bleed your heart dry for people who only saw your womb. She swallows past the lump in her throat. Say it again, she whispers. That I don't regret it. No, she says, that I'm more than that. He turns her gently to face him, eyes steady on hers. Ilara Draven, he says, voice low. You are my equal, my mate, my queen. You are the mind that saved me from my own curse. You are worth more than 100 heirs. She laughs, watery. That's excessive. Then 1,000, he says. Annoying woman. She kisses him to shut him up. Weeks turn into months. Ilara learns council politics, border law, how to navigate rooms full of wolves who think humans are prey. She makes them listen. To farmers, to healers, to barren women and wolfless men. Kael sits beside her, silent more often now. letting her voice reshape the kingdom. Sometimes, in quiet moments, he will glance at the empty cradle by the fire, not with resentment, with a soft, complicated sadness. Do you ever wish? He begins one night, then stops. Wish what? She asks. That I could give you the one thing everyone said you existed for, he says. She takes his hand, lays it on her chest. You did, she says. You gave me a life where I exist for myself. He exhales, some tension leaving his shoulders. Besides, she adds dryly, we're young. Medicine is changing. The goddess is weird. Maybe one day she'll decide she's done punishing my uterus. He snorts. I don't need a miracle, he says. I have you. The miracle comes anyway. On a morning thick with fog, Ilara leans over the basin, stomach heaving. She blames bad fish, stress, too much council wine. Mara races a bell. Oh, how late? She asks bluntly. Late for what? Ilara says. Palms clammy. Mara just looks at her. The healer's face later that week is a mix of amusement and awe. Barren, was it? She says, pressing a hand to Ilara's abdomen. Tell that to the 2 heartbeats I hear. 2, Ilara croaks. 2 what? Pups, the healer says. Babes, heirs. Call them whatever you like. They're there. Ilara sits very carefully on the edge of the bed. I don't understand, she whispers. I tried for years. Nothing. And now? Bodies change, the healer says. Curses break more than you think. And sometimes, when a woman finally stops hating her own flesh, it remembers what it was made to do. Kale walks in on her, still staring at her hands like they're someone else's. Did the healer say something's wrong? He demands. She looks up. Something in her face makes him freeze. Ilara? You remember when you said you didn't need a miracle? She asks. Yes. Well, she says, voice wobbling between laughter and tears, the goddess didn't listen. Understanding slams into him. His knees actually buckle. Goddess, he breathes. Then, are you happy about this? She nods, a tear slipping free. Terrified, she says. Happy, both. He drops to his knees in front of her, rests his forehead against her stomach, hands hovering like he's afraid to touch. Thank you, he whispers. Not to her, to whoever's listening. Ilara? If they're twins, he says, we're never sleeping again. She laughs, messy and bright. Good, she says. Someone else can take the night shift with your curse for a change. He huffs against her skin. There is no curse, he says. Not anymore. She threads her fingers through his hair. That's right, she says softly. There's just you. In the end, the girl her parents sold for infertility did give the Alpha King heirs. But long before that, she gave him something far rarer. A love he chose over his crown. And a life he would have gladly lived childless, so long as he lived it beside the woman no one else wanted but him.